AdamHarry here with Big Red.
Hey everybody.
And we're here to talk about the actual gameplay of Deathwatch Overkill.
Yeah, this is a really interesting game. We've played it a few times now, and I think everyone has been concentrating so much on the miniatures, and they are beautiful, and Gene Stealer Cult is coming back after 25 years, and there's all this stuff. But the game itself this is a pretty cool and interesting game, and it's something really different. We haven't seen Games Workshop do something quite like this in a while.
I mean, obviously there's this obvious Space Hulk comparison, right?
Yes.
And
yeah,
if you would compare it, how would you do that?
I would say that it's a game that, I guess maybe the best way to say it is it's a game that's informed by Space Hulk. It's definitely not a clone of Space Hulk, but if you've played Space Hulk, you're going to be familiar with a lot of the general concepts. So as an example, you have a modular table, right? And you're going to lay out your board, and there's missions, and those missions are going to have, Side A, Marines are going to be entering this modular board, and and every mission has their goals, and they have to do it, and they're going to be surrounded by tons of aliens, and those aliens recycle, sound familiar, sound kind of like Space Hulk, and there's different entry zones on each of the map, and it's all defined by the mission. So overall, like at a big picture, kind of 10,000 foot level, it does seem there's a lot of similarities to Space Hulk, but the second you get down into the nitty-gritty,
there's some big differences
then there's some really big differences.
We also figured out why they called this game Overkill, and that's because if you have played Space Hulk, the Gene Stealer to Terminator death ratio was maybe 1 to 5, 1 to 3,
somewhere in there. I mean, you guys remember if you played. I mean, Let's kind of take it back a little bit, which is that this game is called Deathwatch Overkill, which no one has even really talked about much. Like, why is it called Overkill? It's called Overkill because there's an insane amount of killing in this game. Whatever amount of killing you think is acceptable in a Games Workshop game, this game goes over that.
This goes to 11, for sure.
On the killing. It was just so.
And it's for one thing, it is the Deathwatch to Gene Stealer Cult death ratio is probably close to 10 to 1, 20 to 1, something crazy like that. Yeah. But the thing is, I think that it's also called Overkill because if you want to take out a Deathwatch Marine, you have to kill that guy. You have to overkill him.
You've got to murderize him.
You've got to murderize him.
You've got to murderize him using every trick in the book you got.
We're talking ambushes, multiple attacks, throwing so many dice at him, it just overwhelms him and kills that one guy.
So first of all, let's talk about we've talked about all the things that are very similar to Space Hulk. Let's talk about some of the things that are actually really different, and actually really different from almost any game that in my memory of going back 30 plus years of seeing Games Workshop ever do. This game has an incredible amount of asymmetry between the sides. So what do I mean by that? So
it's not balanced.
If you, it's
not
balanced.
It's
not
balanced
equally.
Right.
So as an example, like if you're playing Space Hulk, all you guys, if you played Space Hulk, raise your hand. Ta-da! So you remember, right? Space Hulk is you're going to have your 5 Marines, sometimes your 10 Marines, and the Gene Stealers come, and Space Hulk is very tactical. It's very fast paced. You're on a clock.
You're almost sweating from the stress.
Yeah. Space Hulk is it's the only game I've ever seen in my life that is a game that's played for entertainment that I've actually watched players sweat when they're playing it, because it's really stressful as a Marine player. This game is not like that. There's no clock. There's no anything like that. And I guess the closest approximation I can say is this game is movie Marines.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys remember the movie Marines from back in White Dwarf, where they were like, hey, here's a set of rules that lets you play a group of Marines as if the fluff really was real, and they were crazy, and your group of 5 Marines could take on an entire army, and it was fair.
You're the Expendables.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what this game is. So in this game, you get 11 guys on an average mission. Some of them use all 11, very few of them. In general, you're using 4 to 6 guys. Those 4 to 6 guys, if you lose 1 or 2 of them, you're going to lose the mission. So it's not one of those Space Hulky games where you're it's all perfect, and you move up, and then, that one guy made a left turn, and I used 1 extra space, and then, oh god, it all falls apart. This game isn't like that at all. This game is it's like the Expendables. Every one of your guys is a super badass hero. And each of those guys has his own special abilities. He has his own special rules.
Their own fluff.
They each have their own fluff. They each have one cool special piece of war gear and a special ability that they all have. And they are really difficult to kill. Now, does it mean that the game is totally unfair?
No.
No, it doesn't, because you just have to think about it in a different in a different way. So as an example, if you're the Gene Stealer player, how Adam and I have been talking about it.
You gotta like plug the holes. You gotta slow them down as much as you can. I played more Gene Stealer Cult than Big Red did, just back and forth. And like I noticed when I was playing them, you really gotta throw bodies into the meat grinder. There's no subtlety about it. Some of the missions we were talking about this earlier, they have timers and stuff like that. Like chunks of the board will fall off.
Right.
If you can hold the Deathwatch guy there,
the missions
take
are
him with you. So.
The missions are very cinematic.
Yes.
There's a lot of you're moving around,
yes.
and this part of the board falls off. And
so cool.
And you know on turn 3, so you better hurry.
Yeah.
And this game has like jumping, and there's chasm. I mean, also the entire map too. Each of these zones on all of this map, these are basically gratings over the abyss.
Right.
And as opposed to Space Hulk, where you're
on a spaceship.
And you have to actually stay only on the map parts of it. Mm-hmm. In this game, your guys can actually attempt to jump over the black, so you can kind of take shortcuts.
You have to in some games, you have to physically jump over, and your guys can't. Yeah, you can't not risk it.
And your guys could fall. It could be bad.
Bye bye.
So it's real. I guess from the point of view of the Gene Stealer player, I was telling Adam, we were talking about it. It's very similar. It's almost a different dynamic.
Yes.
Right? So it's almost like you guys might remember the video game. What was it called? Dungeon Keeper?
Oh yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah,
it's almost that kind of game. It's where if you're the Marine player, every person really matters, and it's an experience that's closer to playing Space Hulk or to even playing Warhammer 40,000. You care about the individual models. What they do is very important. You're going to put a lot of careful thought into it. Now, if you're playing the Gene Stealer player,
the Dungeon Keeper,
it's a different concept.
Yeah, if you're the Dungeon Keeper, if you've ever played the game I'm talking about, you build your dungeon and then they're running through it, and you're just tossing minions in the way to try to kill the heroes, or slow them down, or whatever you can do to stop the heroes from getting to your dungeon heart. That's kind of what this game is. If you are playing the Gene Stealer Cult, you're losing guys left and right, but you don't even care because it's all about the objective. It's all about stopping, one or two. Most of the time, it's two Deathwatch guys. Mm-hmm. So if you can just take out 2 guys,
you'll win.
You'll win, and it's just your gobs of guys are going at it, and it's kind of fun because you really stop caring about losses. If you're a Gene Stealer player or Tyranid player like me, you're used to pulling models, so this is nothing new. The cool part about this is there's no 4-up to have them come back. They just do come back, and they just keep coming.
Oh yeah.
I overwhelmed Big Red a couple of times. He won several of the missions too. It was very back and forth, but I know it was like you're saying, it's very cinematic, and if you just don't worry about losing guys and just get into having fun and just throwing bodies at these super killers, you get really caught up in it. It was really fun.
Yeah, compared to Space Hulk and certain other games. Also, this game is full of cinematic moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like these weird moments will happen. You'll have the guy who's wounded, and you're like, oh,
can we talk about that real quick too?
Absolutely.
So if you're a Marine,
yes,
you have your card. We have a card here. We talked about this earlier. Some of this stuff. He starts off normal, and if he gets wounded, you flip the card over.
And now he's wounded.
Right, but there's a couple of times
if he gets wounded again,
he's out.
Then he's dead.
But there's a couple of cool things about this game. We talked about the rules earlier, but the turn sequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Deathwatch guys have 2 attacks in the turn sequence. So they go first, then the Gene Stealer Cult, then the Deathwatch guys
goes again. Yeah,
they
have 2 attack phases.
So, but if they don't do anything during one of those attack phases and you're wounded,
they can heal themselves.
The super metabolism kicks in, they flip back over.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're talking about with overkill. You have to kill these guys. Once there's blood in the water, once they're wounded, you got to jump on them just like a pack of piranha. You have to keep them wounded, or they're gonna flip over.
Or they're gonna take a temporary pause, heal themselves back up, and now you're dealing with a full set of badass heroes again that are untouched. Now on the Gene Stealers player, you do have some guys. So here's the Magus, and the Primus, and the Patriarch. They have cards. They can be wounded also, and if they hit it again, then they're dead. But
they're not really dead.
They're not really dead. Also, so we'll get to that in a little bit. But in general, the vast majority of the horde of your cult, as soon as they're wounded, they're out.
Yeah.
So you're just
one hit.
You're pulling those models. So it's almost like I would say, if you're the Gene Stealer player, imagine that you have a fire hose. And that fire hose is dudes. And you don't care at all about these dudes. what you're going to do, because you're a patriarch and you're a magus and you have
you're going to do the biomass attack anyway.
You don't care. All you need to do is your job is to use your fire hose of dudes to get rid of one or two of these marines, and that's your job. And if you can do that, and it puts you into a really different mindset. And
absolutely.
It's not better. It's not worse. It's just different. But it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and we flipped too. I played Deathwatch. You played Jesus Call just to get a feel for it. And it's like we said, it's a lot of fun. Totally different play styles and mindsets. It's very fun. The other cool thing I liked about this, I love me some Space Hulk too, but what I really enjoyed about this was you can relax when you're playing this game.
Absolutely.
Like we talked about earlier, players sweating and the concentration there. You can kind of relax and have fun with this game. It's not super intense. I mean, it's fun intensive. It's like a popcorn and
absolutely.
Beer and pretzels.
It's really
like
casual. You're going to have a fun
afternoon,
time. The game moves really fast. Really fast.
Oh yeah.
This is not you're going to set it up and 3 hours later, okay, you made it to your first minute. I mean, these are 30-minute, 45-minute games.
Oh yeah, very quick.
It's fast.
Which also leads it into a perfect introductory game into the Grimdark, wouldn't you say?
I would agree. I think sure, some people, maybe some of the grizzled players, the people who've been playing 40K, they're not going to like this concept because they want balanced forces and they want everything. But think about this game from the point of view of someone they're young, it's a kid, they don't know anything about the Grimdark. What better introduction to the Games Workshop universe than a game where you basically get to play movie Marines?
Yeah.
This is very much, each of the Marines is this is basically the 7 Samurai. Right?
Oh yeah. There's 11 of them, but
well, the 11 Samurai of the Grimdark.
Right.
And they're just amazing. And they are going to be, it's like the Expendables on the tabletop. They're all, that guy's Stallone and that guy's Van Damme and,
sure.
That guy's Bruce Willis. They're all, everyone is a super badass.
The fun thing too, like if you read the fluff and then do the mission, it kind of gets you in that mindset. I mean, it's not, it's the same style Black Labor does. It's very action-packed, very action-oriented. I mean, this isn't like, what would you compare? It's not like H.G. Wells' high sci-fi here. This is eating popcorn, playing games with friends kind of stuff. So, it's still fun. It's just very fun.
I mean, someone was saying, as a joke, and I agree with them. They're like, there's the plot line kind of roughly parallels the plot line of, say, Doom.
Yeah.
But so what? Doom was fun. I had some of the most fun ever playing that game. And it's pretty similar. You're going to go underground. You're going to kill monsters. You're going to go underground. The deeper you go, the meaner the monsters are.
And that's not to say the game isn't tactical. There's no strategy involved, because there is.
Oh yeah.
Especially for the Gene Stealer player. With those ambush cards, you're drawing 5 a turn.
Yep.
And you're playing them, and you're deciding where they go, where they come in at. And you do have options. It's not like a mindless, like, oh, this isn't any fun because I don't have any choice here.
So let's
go through some of those cards.
So let's say that I here have a hand of 5 cards. So as an example, on an average mission, it's going to vary from mission to mission. But on say an average mission, you're probably drawing. Each mission will define how many cards are in the Gene Stealer player's hands. Yep. 5 is a pretty good average, and then it's going to tell you how many of these cards you can play as ambushes every turn, which is normally, say, 3. So let's pretend that we're playing a game here, and a bunch of the here's the 4 Marines, and I have all my dudes, and a bunch of dudes have been killed. So I'm going to and I'm going to go into my deck, and I'm going to draw my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, and I'm going to look at them, and these cards are things like each card has 2 sections. On the top of it, it has an ambush section, which gives you a selection of models.
That's your reinforcements.
And those are your reinforcements. And then on the bottom, it has a gambit, which is some special ability that's normally something sneaky and bad for the Marine player.
What was your favorite gambit?
My favorite gambit is the Deadly Trap, which I'll read this one right here. Play this card when a Deathwatch model moves into a zone, which is one of the sections of the board. Roll a die for each Deathwatch model in that zone. On a roll of 5+, it causes a hit. Armor saves can be made as normal. So it's just free hits.
Yeah.
Gambits basically are supposed to represent the bad luck / nefarious influences of the hive mind, as you're just almost the entire kind of structure itself is turning against you as the Marines are going deeper and deeper and deeper. Whereas the ambush part of it is obviously the physical reinforcements.
Right. And you combine those as the Gene Stealer call player. You're combining those ambushes and gambits to try to take out 1, 2 guys, and if you can do that, you've won.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So you have to overkill them.
So it's pretty awesome. So those are the Gene Stealer reinforcement cards.
And it's not to say that all of the Gene Stealers are pushovers either. Like the Patriarch and the Primus are very, very, very good in close combat.
Oh yeah, really, yeah. The
big guys,
the big honchos,
the boss monsters,
and even the pure strain Gene Stealers. They're pretty nasty. So I guess one of the final notes we wanted to hit on was another thing that hadn't been talked about, which is that so you get 11 Marines in this game is replay value. The replay value of this game is really, really high, and here's why. Unlike some other games, each of these 11 Marines of the Deathwatch, these guys are all clearly designed to be balanced perfectly against each other, right? Yes. If some guy's faster, he's not going to be as strong. If some guy has better weapons, he's he's not going to be as fast. Maybe someone's armor is better. Maybe someone has a special ability that makes them tougher. Maybe someone has weapons that are really good at range, but is terrible, whatever. So each of these guys is pretty much a unique and balanced hero, and they're all balanced against each other. So when you play these missions, these missions don't say, well, historically on mission 1 it's Chaplain Cassius and this dude.
Right.
It just says pick 4 Marines. So, or in this mission, pick 6. So every time you play it, you're gonna, you can pick different Marines, you can deploy them differently, and certain players, as we know from just all games, are better at certain playstyles, right? Some people really are good at target priority, and they're going to be picking guys who are more about shooting, and they're going to be really good at that. Some people are really good at movement, and they're going to be picking guys with jump packs and teleport homers and guys who have, have those types of special abilities. So you can
one of the wonkiest games I played was when I took all the shooty guys versus and it was just just trying to stand back. It didn't work too well for me.
It did not work.
But it was one of the wonkiest things because I was like, man, I really should have taken at least 1 or 2 close combat guys, but I was like, I just want to shoot to see what happens. So I like the
Big Red the Patriarch, my hybrid fire hose, we got him that day.
It was pretty brutal, but
he was swamped.
Yeah, it was. That's another thing too. Like I had one, I think it was 1.5 turns of bad rolls and just got overrun. Right. So it's stuff like that in the game. It's fun. It's just a different way to play. Like you're saying, we can go back and replay that mission, and I could take a completely different force, and it would turn out different. Hopefully, well, probably more balanced that time, but.
So the rules themselves, really, really short, probably no more than about 8 to 10 pages of rules, and there's a lot of pictures in that. Yeah. And then half of the rule book is basically the narrative campaign, which is 9 linked missions,
which is really fun.
And because these games go so fast, you can probably go through an entire campaign in one long day or 2 days pretty easily.
Like a weekend.
Yeah,
so perfect.
You can just it's next weekend. As opposed to lots of other games where you're like, oh, it's 9 linked games. We're never realistically actually going to play that ever.
Right.
Or maybe we'll do that over the summer. This is definitely the type of game where you can say, hey, you know what? Let's play.
Hey, this afternoon, let's play through a couple missions.
Yeah, exactly.
The day after, we'll play through the rest.
Yeah, and we'll switch. Your Marines this weekend. Next weekend, we'll do the campaign again, and and I'll be Marines.
You could also make it so that you have to play the same 4 guys if you want to throw a crazy curveball in there. Whatever you want to do. I mean, it's your board game when you play it. You do what you want.
Basically, Deathwatch Overkill. That's kind of our take on the game.
Very fun. Very fast.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of people actually talking about the game itself.
Right.
It is a really, really cool experience. It's super easy. It is ideally designed for new players who don't know anything about the Grim Dark, and coincidentally, who want to end up with some totally awesome miniatures.
They are really cool. Well, that's pretty much it for this quick overview. We wanted to talk about the actual board game. I think we've accomplished that. So I'm AdamHarry from BoLS.
And I'm Big Red.
Thanks again for watching. Have a good one.
Have a great one, guys.